Metatron, fascist. And nobody likes you, so we just don't care. This is just being a dumbass and probably a white supremacist. You're probably just a Nazi. Where he basically just fascist posts the whole time. Like, so I felt pretty justified in calling him a fascist, a Nazi. You're not smart, man. I don't personally think any of my views are extreme, fascist. People who are really stupid think that you're smart, okay? Now I'm really stupid, but even I can see through.
Yeah, I agree.
Fascist. Race. Nazi. Nazi. Nazi.
Hello number ones, welcome back to my channel. This is the Metatron speaking. And the reason why I'm laughing is, well, this. Today we are looking at the channel Alec Gunter. If you browse through his channel, you'll see he's mostly a political commentator, although give him an opportunity to describe himself and his platform to us. He says, just another leftist variety content creator. I cover news, politics and play games among various other content. He, him. Full stop. Now, the reason why I decided to cover this creator is because he made 2 response videos specifically to me, which are these 2 here. Now, already the title, I'll give you this, Alec. You use good pictures of me, so good screenshots, so I appreciate that. It's pretty cool. Made me look good, I appreciate that. But anyways, title, Metatron is a slavery apologist. As stupid as that title can get, that's the accusation. Second one, everything is controversial according to this guy. Now, today we're going to have a look at this one, the slavery apologist one, but I have watched both. The first one is a response to the video that I made about what controversy is and whether or not my videos should be controversial. It's a video essay, and I have to say that if I can, for a moment, use all the self-restraint that I can find on the planet and forget the absurd accusations that this guy is throwing against me, and we'll get back to that. But that's probably not one of my best work, and it's one of those videos where I make it maybe a bit too complicated and use vocabulary that is a little hard to understand sometimes, and yeah, sure, I'll take that. Criticism is good for me because I can improve. But regardless, today we're looking at this one because, slavery apologists, how, when, and where? Alec, you've seen nothing. Slavery apologist is the least of his attacks ad personam, because of course it's always ad hominem. Now, to prove to you without any shadow of a doubt the complete and total utter lack of self-awareness that Alec Gunter has, I would like to go a little deeper into the law. So, the guy criticized the YouTuber Shoe on Head. Yes, the left-wing socialist YouTuber Shoe on Head, who from the point of view of this guy is too conservative. And Shoe on Head replied. Now, he did not like how Shoe on Head, in his words, misrepresented his takes. And he said this.
Okay, no, this is slander. You're slandering me, Shu. I never said that it's okay that he got shot. Show me where I said that. Pull up the clip. Here's her audience. Yeah, I'm gonna sue her.
Oh no, he's checking comments.
Yeah, but you did make a negative insinuation about me that is ostensibly not true, so my opinion of you has dropped. Yeah, it's just slander. It's just slander.
From the guy who said this to me.
You're probably just a Nazi. So I felt pretty justified in calling him a fascist, and probably a white supremacist.
Unbelievable.
You know, I was really expecting some, like, positive, constructive criticism, the kind that I give Shoe on Head, like, fascist.
Bring it on. Destroy me with your intellect.
And you expect people to not think you're racist.
And that's the first one. Get your stickers, guys. Get your stickers.
So we have a video from Content Suggestions. We're going to go over a video from a guy who is named Metatron. And we've gone over one of his videos before. Specifically, This video is controversial. Click at your own risk. Where he basically just fascist posts the whole time. Like, he was never explicitly doing...
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The one video where I say that we should be able to be fascist. We should be able to openly discuss all sorts of matters without being afraid of sharing our mind freely. That's fascist. This is this guy's understanding of fascism. Put a pin on that, because I'm coming back to that. I'm not taking that one lightly. Fascism, right?
Fascism, but he was teetering on it, if I recall correctly. So I felt pretty justified in calling him a fascist. But he's got another video that somebody recommended. It is called "Reacting to Anti-White TikToks. Why is this tolerated?" Yeah, I would like to take a look at what's going on here. Now, as far as being anti-white, I'm in favor of it, because whiteness as a concept, as a construct, being anti-white as a construct, like, obviously that we recognize people as white now. And so if you say that, like, yeah, I'm racist against white people, what you're implying is that anybody who has a specific tone of skin or
Yes.
is from a certain demographic is somebody that you don't like on the face of it. That's not okay.
That's what I'm attacking, Alec. That's what I'm attacking, Alec. So you just demonstrated that you agree with me. Are you a fascist now, though? Because according to your own standards,
That's not okay. Fascist.
that is exactly what I'm talking. I'm not talking about the concept of whiteness pose that changes because it does change over time. In fact, it doesn't just change over time. Who is white? Look at Benjamin Franklin and look at today. Look at the ancient Romans. They used the term white and they did not include the Nordic, by the way. They used a separate term and it was blonde. So yeah, the concept of the term white changes with time and changes with space. In fact, you will see that according to him, I'm not white. Instead, according to myself, I am white because he has what I would call an American, that what some Americans use as a qualification for who's white and who's not, while I have a European one, specifically a Southern European one. So yeah, if we want to talk about that concept of whiteness and you have a problem with it as a classification, whatever, that's not what I'm attacking. I'm attacking the racist, or if you don't want to use racist because of course he's going to go into systemic idea, whatever. If you don't want to use that, fine. Derogatory. The derogatory and hatred that is aimed at people because of the color of their skin, while at the same time simultaneously condemning racism towards black people as well, and in fact all people. I remember discuss equality, another concept he has a problem with, but I don't want to put words in his mouth.
Right? Now, if you're saying I'm anti-white as in I don't like the concept of whiteness, okay, because it's a social construct that is completely based on exclusivity from the in-group, right? That's how we get, like, throughout history, we've had different groups of people who qualify as white or don't qualify as white. As long as there is an out-group to distinguish from whiteness, that's the point of whiteness, right? Is that there's an out-group that we can distinguish white people, quote-unquote, from. So if you're talking about that construct, I agree. I think that being anti-white is a good thing.
That's not what being anti-white means these days, and you know it. I mean, it can mean that from a political perspective in discourse, but when we show videos of people that hate white people because of the color of their skin, then you know exactly that that's what we are talking about, and you know it. You know it even when you just click the beginning of my video.
Based, it's POG, it's whatever. So we'll just see how these TikToks go. I might think that the TikToks are cringe along with Metatron. I might think that they're fine. But like I said, ultimately, I just don't care
I appreciate the open mind. I would have said if you hadn't called me a fascist.
that much if people are like, oh, I hate white people. I don't care. It doesn't affect me in like any kind of meaningful way.
Did you hear that? This is the basis of almost every counter-argument that Mr. Gunter uses. If it doesn't affect me, I don't care. That's selfish, because it does affect other people. For instance, these are the sort of comments that I get under my videos whenever I dare to challenge historical narratives, or when I simply present in a polite manner historical facts, such as, for example, the idea that Cleopatra was Greek. That's what I get. So I am affected by it. But even if I wasn't, I would think about those people who can be affected by this. It's not all about me, and it's not all about the self. That's a selfish way to look at things. Can we agree with that? Knowing him for what I've watched so far, he's probably going to deny that it ever happens.
There's no systemic racism against people who are white. It just doesn't matter that much. So
Okay, so mental abuse is not a problem. You can attack people verbally, and it doesn't matter, right? Because it's not systemic. So you don't have a problem then if people assault verbally, for example, a person for being transgender. Because, I mean, you're not transgender, so it doesn't affect you. It's just verbal abuse, and you don't seem to have a problem with that. But I think you would have a problem with that. And so would I. I don't like it when people are horrible towards other people. I wouldn't make it illegal, but I still frown upon it. I wouldn't incarcerate the people that wrote these messages underneath my comments, but I think that their attitude is despicable, to say the least. On this video, I'm going to address a current societal phenomenon which seems to have bled into the social media cyberspace we inhabit. As such, being a content creator, I feel...
It's not like a societal phenomenon to like be anti-white. Like, that's not real. You know what I mean?
It's not
like, that's
real.
not a real...
Gaslighter! Alec, you're a gaslighter. What is this then? Did I dream it? Did I type those? Tell me, answer this question. If you do make a react to this, which I imagine you will, did I dream this? Because you said it's not real. So what is this then? If it's not anti-white sentiment, which once again is as bad as anti-black sentiment, I know you disagree. Once again, I condemn all forms of racism. I have to specify. He doesn't believe it, I don't care. I'm saying it for my audience. But no one is going to try and gaslight you to tell you that there is no anti-black sentiment, yet the likes of Alec do love to gaslight it into thinking that this doesn't exist. Even when there is empirical proof. He's going to hate me because I use the word empirical. He doesn't like those words.
Driving force right now, anti-whiteness. It's just not. And if you think that it is, you're probably just a Nazi, honestly.
Compelled
There
to
we go. So up to this point, racist, fascist, Nazi. Let's see.
address this issue with the
Or at least
gravity it
adjacent.
deserves. While unequivocally denouncing all manifestations of racial prejudice across the demographic spectrum, this discourse will focus specifically on the sole form of discriminatory sentiment
Of
that
course.
appears to enjoy a high degree of societal tolerance
most
online,
important.
namely anti-white sentiment.
I didn't say the most important. I said it's the one. So now you're misconstruing my argument. So I'm going to reestablish because I'm not going to let you use a strawman against me. I didn't say that anti-white sentiment is the one that I want to address because it's the most important. I said anti-white sentiment is the one that I decided to address on that specific video. You make choices like that. For each video you upload, you don't talk about every single topic possible. But I decided to talk about it because it's the one that receives a pass, as you have just proved. You've proven my point. You give it a pass. So it's true what I'm saying. Hence, I decided to talk about it. You just proved it.
Historical nonsense across the full political continuum, which is why people of all political persuasions are welcome here.
He talks like
The extremist me, the extremist who welcomes everyone.
an
To know
adult
me,
Stewie.
know that. Fighting the injustice
does.
that is
Now I can't get
societally
out of my head.
accepted is the true bravery. If you speak
Ew,
against racism
Stewie.
towards people of color and minorities, as you should, but are too
Vile
afraid
woman.
to speak against anti-white
Look,
content,
he's speaking over the parts that we could have agreed. He just speaks over it. And he doesn't even hear it. And then he says, racist.
because you don't want backlash, you are kneeling to the mob and you are no.
I'm sorry, people are not afraid to speak against anti-white content. It happens all the time. People bitch and moan about it. People are not being quiet about it, okay? The only reason people like you think that people are being quiet about it is because people who are actually upset by it are actually quite small. Like, that group of people is quite small, okay? And you just happen to be a part of it, and you want to believe that there are more people like you who are just not speaking up. And that's not the case. Nobody cares. Nobody cares except for you and your buddies, okay? And nobody likes you, so we just don't care.
Oh my gosh, you just made... So, if it's a sufficiently small group of people and nobody likes them, that's sufficient to dismiss any form of hatred or difficulty or idea even that they may have. You do understand the sort of problematic take that you're paving the way towards. Because this, exactly how you formulate it, can be used against all minorities and their problems. You do understand that, right? Okay, let's deconstruct this because it's wonderful. Point number one. So his counter argument is the fact that, well, because it's just a minority of people, then the hatred that they are receiving doesn't matter. It's just a minority. So let me get this straight. The numerical, you don't even know what you believe in, Alec. You don't believe what you just said. You don't believe what you just said. It's ridiculous. Just because it's a small group of people, then it doesn't matter. I mean, that's already a victory here, but let's continue.
I initially intended to incorporate and critique racist digital media directed at various ethnic minorities too. However, given that such a
Yeah, but I just thought that the most important one to address was anti-whiteness. It's really pervasive. That's really the one I care about.
Not anti-whiteness. Let me reestablish my point, since you love your strawman fallacy. Anti-white people. The people. Not the concept. I don't care if you want to debate the concept. More than happy to. I'm for freedom of speech, which you're going to hate, and I'm for public discourse, whatever you want. We can talk about anything. It's the people, the hatred towards the people.
disparity in treatment is in itself a matter of significant concern and proof of a mechanism of social control. It is crucial to recognize that extreme blind
Here we
linguistic
go.
censorship not only stifles intellectual discourse, but also paradoxically impedes our ability to defend marginalized communities effectively.
That's because you don't understand the concept of whiteness and why people don't like it. That's the only reason. You're not smart, man. This is the same problem as the last guy we just went over. You
He's the smart one, though. He's very intelligent. You'll see.
use big words and long run-on sentences to make yourself sound smart so that people who are really stupid think that you're smart, okay? Now, I'm really stupid, but even I can see through
Yeah, I agree.
that.
Hence, I make this video for the sake of fighting all forms of toxicity equally for a clean and just digital ecosystem.
Yes, you see.
Yeah, what a fascist thing to say, that we should treat everyone equally for
Yes, you see, when one person is dying of cancer and another person is totally healthy and fine, I look at both equally. And I try to say to myself, well, gee, should I treat one more than I treat the other? Like with medical care, should I really give more medical care to the one with cancer just because they have, I mean, that's not equality. That's really stupid, man.
That's not my point. That's a false equivalence. And I agree, though. It is very stupid what you just said. Yes, if there is a person who has cancer and a person who has a flu, we should divert more resources to cure and heal the person with cancer. Explain to me how that's a good analogy, though, for what I am proposing. I'm talking about let's not be hateful and toxic. Goodness gracious.
Okay, white people have had it way too good for way too fucking long.
Is that a justification to now be hateful towards them? Because careful, that's exactly what the Nazi did in Germany in the 1940s, 30s in fact. They were directing a very strong hatred towards a couple of ethnic groups. And then they found a justification. Well, all of our economic trouble is because of them. Oh, they had it really good and they are rich and prosperous while we don't. We have a lot of problems. Hence, let's exterminate them all. I'm not saying that that's what you're saying. But I'm saying be very careful, because it's the exact justification for hatred is the basis of Nazism, since you accuse me of being a Nazi. Well, let's redefine the meaning of the words and how the political ideologies actually worked from a real historical perspective.
All right, I'm sorry, that's just how it is. And that sucks. Okay, so this is not treating people equitably. This is just being a dumbass and probably a white supremacist.
There we go. Boom. Now we threw white supremacist. You added white supremacy, which demonstrates you are not confident of your arguments. You think they're weak, because otherwise, why would you need to add white supremacy? It's either that, or you're a very emotional person that doesn't control his emotions during a discussion. I don't know which one it is, but it works against you during a confrontation.
Well, one house is on fire, but all houses are made equal, so I will spray down the one that's not on fire first. Good job, buddy.
Not what I'm saying. Strawman number 3.
Controversial opinion, but if you have a token white and you're hanging out with your friend group of color, you need to ask permission from everybody in the group to bring your white friend. Don't just bring them. Ask for explicit permission from everyone, because just because you're comfortable with them.
I mean, what do I even say to this? I'm not black, so I can't, I'm not a person of color, so I can't completely speak on that. But I would say, listen, if you want to invite somebody to your friend gathering and they think it's important to ask whether or not the person is white, I mean, that's their choice.
And I can choose not to associate with them because of the prejudice that they are pushing.
I understand it. I understand where it comes from. But the onus does kind of fall on the person to ask whether or not that particular person is white, right? You guys should have that internal discussion already. There should be an understanding between friends whether or not that happens. I just feel like it's a video that doesn't really need to be made. You know what I mean? If you don't want to bring... If your friend group does not want to automatically accept white people, you should already have that foundation. You should discuss that.
Explicit permission, right?
I just feel like it's a little silly.
Without permission, don't you dare to bring papers. It's gracious.
Doesn't mean that everybody's comfortable with them. I might
get it, but if you're comfortable with white people while you're not white, means you're a...
Let me tell you something. White people say wild things when, even when they're not
and other people from other ethnicities don't?
Explicitly racist. White people say some wild shit when there aren't people of color around, or minorities. It really is crazy. And the same goes for sexual minorities as well, and gender minorities, like transgender people. If you're trans and you are hanging out with your friend and your parents are there, and then your trans friend leaves, your parents might be like, wow, for a transgender, they're actually really nice. That shit happens all the time with minorities of all sorts. Literally, I had an experience, I won't say who, she said some kind of, I don't want to misrepresent this, but she said some kind of comment.
Yeah, I agree with your sentiment here, Alec. You're right. You're absolutely right. It's wrong to misrepresent people. So you shouldn't misrepresent your friend or this person, whoever she was, and put words in her mouth that she never said. Right, Alec? Can we both agree that that's not a good thing to do?
you're probably just a Nazi. Where he basically just fascist posts the whole time, like,
welcome to double standard, man. Self-awareness, zero.
yeah, they're so well spoken. Some shit like that. Exactly. Like, it's crazy. So, I'm sorry, but like, white people already kind of do something like this.
If anyone in this group is instead not, oh, they don't want to see white people, I don't want to mingle with it, it means they're racist.
Yep.
That racism, though, probably stems from issues due to white supremacy and living in a white
Justifying
supremacist nation, which we do. Like,
you know, the racism that the Nazi had, well, it stemmed from the economic conditions that the German people had to suffer through, and therefore, what are you doing? What are you doing?
the Nazi. Usually when people are racist against people who are white, it is like those issues stem from the issues that come from white supremacy. You know what I mean?
Still doesn't justify it. We should still say two wrongs don't make a right. Instead of fighting racism with racism, shouldn't we try to bypass the whole concept altogether and evolve as a species and stop looking at people's skin and judgment by the contents of their character? Isn't that the right and most correct thing to do, instead of justifying hatred, which is exactly what all historical hatred was founded upon? Justification. They did it in fascist Italy. They did it in Nazi Germany. They did it in Soviet communist Russia with Stalin. There was always a justification. Yes, but. Yeah, it's racism, but it's in the books.
Might not be in the mood to deal with white shenanigans.
Why? Okay, here's my question. Why the f do you want to hang out with people who don't want you there? You know what I mean?
I mean, I'm sure you don't want to hang out or even deal with people you perceive to be fascists. Although then again, by the way you place that, you probably consider the postman who brought you mail fascist because he used the right hand to offer the mail to you. But regardless, I don't think you want to hang out with the people you criticize, or you want to have anything to do with the people you criticize, but that doesn't stop you from criticizing what you perceive to be abhorrent behavior and, in fact, dangerous ideology. It is a dangerous ideology to single out people because of the skin they have and treat them badly or exclude them because of it.
If you have a friend who's got a group, like let's say you have a friend, like you're white, right? And you have a friend who's black, and they have a big group of black friends, and that group of black friends doesn't want any white people in their friend group. It's like, okay, but like, why would I even want to be part of their friend group then? I feel like I would just be like the entire time on edge that people just don't want me there, and yet I'm there. You know what I mean? Like, would I take personal offense to it? I don't know. I don't think about this shit. I don't think about this shit that.
So would you have a problem with a group of white people that exclude a black person because of the color of their skin and they don't want to have anything to do with them? I mean, it doesn't affect you. But would you still call them out? You certainly mind it. So you do mind for things that don't affect you.
That much. I don't care.
Is that day. That's all I'm saying.
It's not a problem that comes up.
It feeds into their ego. Like, don't let them think they're a good.
That's another thing.
She was saying, don't let them think they're a good white person. That was horrible, but yeah.
Rarely does this actually happen. I'm sorry, like this just does not happen that often.
White person.
What? Don't let them think. Oh my gosh. Okay.
A little silly.
Absolute
Thank
idiot.
you, Alec.
IQ level 20. Let me spell it out for you. This is the sensible take. There are bad people and there are good people in all nations, countries, and ethnicities.
Ring the bell. Fascist ideology is being pushed.
Right. So the fact that you're saying that basically there are no good white people, if you're saying that it feeds into the ego of white people, because
I thought that part was silly.
Thank you, Alec. Appreciate that.
Yeah, if a good person is a good person, you absolutely. Let's continue.
Don't give them.
But it's TikTok, man. I'm sorry. You're just going to get things like that on TikTok.
You're absolutely right.
That card to
this is not a cultural
other
trend.
People. Please don't do that.
What card? What card? Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Right, next one.
Yeah,
Hi
rage
there.
baiting.
You must be new to my
It's got to be
account.
rage bait.
I say white.
Next one.
Hey, white ladies. Deny.
Hold on. Can you say white properly?
I say white.
Next one.
Was that anti-white?
Yes, she means it as a spit.
I'm also irritated when people pronounce the H in white.
That's not the discussion. That's not what we're talking about. She means it as a spit. Like she's spitting on white people. That's how she means it.
I don't like that.
Hey, white ladies. Denying racism in your own self is violent.
What does that mean exactly?
Thank you.
Like, it's good to like introspect and figure out your own personal biases.
Yes.
But I think that, like, I do think that there's this weird liberal idea that, like, all white people need to accept that they're racist somehow. And I'm sorry, but that makes the word racist very not meaningful.
Finally, a point. Finally, Alec. Finally. As you say, you can't stand me. I just think you are very radicalized. That's what I think. But regardless, it doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter at this point. But I can still underline if you are making sense. What you just said, we are on 100% agreement. It does dilute. If you use the word racist too much, it dilutes the meaning of the word and it becomes useless. Given you're a little guilty of that yourself, since you call everybody racist, that certainly called me racist. With that being said, since you have no self-awareness, I'm not expecting that to connect, but at least the fact that you see it in other people, at least I can respect that.
To me, like, I have heard that idea come up now and then. Again, not that big of a problem, and it's really silly to sit here and bitch about it. I don't ever. But since it came up, it's like, yeah, I think that idea is a little silly. I think it's good to introspect and, you know, because everyone thinks they're not racist. It's good to introspect and be like, okay, let's break down. Am I racist? When a black person walks out of the room, do I suddenly go, yeah, that was one of the good ones, bucko? You know, like, do you do shit like that? Because if you do, you're probably a little racist, you know? Or do you just, like, treat people as people, you know? Introspect,
which
always. But that doesn't necessarily make every white person a racist. We need to accept the system that is racist that we exist in and benefit from. Yeah, but that doesn't make me as a person racist. I don't think I'm racist. Do you think you're racist? All I'm saying...
I don't think I'm racist either. I know he was talking to the chat, but yeah.
Saying is, you're probably not racist. I know for a fact that I'm not racist because I know what's in my own head, right? So I know that I'm not racist. I've introspected on this. I used to be racist. Okay, that used to be a thing. I was a conservative. You're agreeing with me? Okay, good. We're on the same page. I was a conservative and I was racist because of my parents and my upbringing. And I introspected and I changed my ways and now I'm not racist.
You hurt the entire cause.
Listen.
Okay.
You're only playing this if you value your life.
This is a drip though, gotta say. Very colorful.
Yep.
Bicolors.
Is to shut the up.
Yep.
Listen.
Oh, got him. Oh, got him. Oh. Why don't you hear her out first? You know what I mean? Like, this is the problem is we don't really, people like, what's his face up there, don't really care to understand where these sentiments come from. Okay. And so they never actually think like, maybe there's a reason, even if they go too far, that, you know, people are expressing these sentiments. You know, like, let's really analyze what's going on here. Because this person has probably been a victim of racism. If you are a black person in America, odds are you have been a victim of racism. That's just how it is, okay? So even if you go too far with it, that sentiment still comes from the fact that we live in a white supremacist society. Once again,
listen exclusively to black, brown, and indigenous women, femmes, and non-men.
Non-men is women. We have a word for it.
Lady.
So if you're being charitable, yes.
Which you never are.
The Nazi. What she's saying is correct. You should listen. Sometimes you should just shut the fuck up and listen. It's okay sometimes to just shut the fuck up and listen, you know? Like, yeah. So if you're being charitable, that's all she's saying. If you're being uncharitable, one concern I'd like to point out is that Candace Owens is black, okay? So if I'm in an argument with Candace Owens and, you know, she's trying to say that, like, black culture is destroying Western society, and I'm trying to say, well, no, actually systemic racism exists, I feel fine talking about that, you know? But that's only if I'm reading this uncharitably, which, again, it's TikTok. It's so silly to get mad at this. It's so silly to get mad at this. Like, how is this actually impacting your life? What's your name again?
It is. I've already proven that, but it doesn't matter, Alec, because I'm not selfish like you are, and I don't only talk about things that impact my life directly. Even if this didn't impact my life in any way, shape, or form, I still think about those people that will be impacted by this. And of course you could tell me, well, then why don't you talk about anti-black sentiment? I do that too. Did you watch my entire channel? No, I do that too.
Change them a little bit.
Ladies and gentlemen, here we have what I like to call a black supremacist. Someone that believes that the oppression of their ancestors allows them to oppress people in the present.
Again, you're just reading too heavily, man. You're going too deep. Okay, she's obviously just frustrated at the circumstances.
Are you talking to me or are you talking to the guy?
Being a black woman in America. Okay, people are really racist, especially against black women. You know what I mean? Like, healthcare is racist towards them. Like, sometimes you're like, do you guys know that black women in America are like 3 times more likely, is it 3 times, I think, to die during childbirth than white women? Isn't that...
That's terrible. I don't know what it's caused by, but it is terrible.
Insane. That's insane. And like, there are literally doctors who think just because you're black that you'll like go in and try to like drug seeking behavior.
That's exactly what you did to me. That's what you do. At the moment, I haven't offended. You accused me of being like 15 different things. I didn't say one, but I didn't accuse you of anything because I can't prove it.
I've been worded out no
Someone
matter
that
the
believes
race.
that their life revolves so much around the color of their skin that, like a symbiote, race takes over their entire being.
Yes.
Very true. Very true. That's absolutely true. And I think it's wrong on any side. It's not all about race. It's not.
Yeah, but when you sit here and say, well, it's wrong when anybody does it, you're completely ignoring the historical context, man. White people in America were not enslaved. Black people...
The whole planet is not America, I would like to say.
Okay? And just because that is quote-unquote over, even though it's not, if you know anything about the incarceration system in this country, where slavery is allowed, you know anything like about our history and how things kind of snowball into what they are today, then maybe you could understand why black people are still suffering. You know, like, slavery wasn't the end of it.
The suffering is not the point of the discussion here. I can sympathize with suffering. I do. I don't sympathize with hatred and toxicity. I do not believe, and that's the area where we disagree, I do not believe there is any justification for toxicity and hatred.
And absolutely, prejudice can come from both sides. If you appreciate my content so far, and
you know, that sentiment is not people making race their entire identity. That's white supremacists making race.
However, because of this, they gain some...
And if you look at the population...
Alec, you keep interrupting this person of color, this black man who is trying to speak. You keep interrupting him and you're not listening to him.
Sometimes you should just shut the fuck up and listen. It's okay sometimes to just shut the fuck up and listen.
Isn't that what you just told me I should do? I should shut up, listen, because I don't know what it means to be a black man, right? Which is true. So I need to shut up and listen to what people of color have to say. You're not doing it. That guy's speaking. You haven't listened to one word that he said, and you keep interrupting him and speaking over him.
abilities or social power. And for all the people that don't believe that black supremacists exist, here's your proof.
Throw every resource you have and use your privilege to back us in every way.
I agree.
Do you? Well, then let's make this happen. Let's see if I can get that lady's bank information, and then you can divert your resources. In fact, how about we divert the last 6 months of the money that you created on AdSense, that you generated on AdSense from your YouTube channel, and you just send it to that lady. I mean, you said you agree. Well, let's see. Just words, it's easy. We need to see facts here.
What do you mean? It's not a matter of whether it works or not. What? You should use your privilege for good. Yes. You should use your privilege to help people who are not as privileged as you are. That is something that you ought to do. That is a good thing to do. It's not a matter of whether it quote unquote works. What are you talking about?
You think that's gonna work, or is it just a way to...
I wasn't talking about that though. When I said work, I meant the way she said it. She said it with such hatred. You will send us. And that's what I was asking. You think that's going to work? You say that and someone is literally on the other side watching that video and thinking, man, she really has a point. She told me to shut up and send her everything I have. Not everything I have, but resources. So I am absolutely going to do that. That's what I meant. I mean, I'm not going to send her $1, and neither are you. Neither are you. So it didn't work. Thus I was correct.
To get out her chest. I mean, I don't know what she went through in her life to become like this.
There we go.
What I see, unfortunately, is a person full of hate. And also, let me point this out. When you say white people, that's so weird, because I suppose she's putting in Americans, Germans, Italians, French.
Yep.
Why are you mad?
If she said, listen to POC voices, I can get behind that, but telling white women to shut the fuck up while saying that isn't good.
Once again, his audience is agreeing with me.
I'm not saying that I entirely agree with her message. I'm saying you can either sit here and nitpick it, or you can understand the sentiment and where this comes from, because the underlying issue is white supremacy in the United States, if she's in the United States, which I assume she is. You know, like, that's where it stems from. And if you recognize that, then you don't have to sit here and nitpick it. You can just say, yeah, you're right. Racism is a problem, and I try to, you know, use my privilege for good. And when it's not appropriate to speak over minorities, let them have the floor and speak.
Which you didn't, because you keep interrupting the guy.
You know? Yeah, her accent sounds American, yeah.
Is lightness
I don't
of
care.
their skin. And that says
You established that you don't care for things that don't affect you directly.
First of all, are you trying to mind control them? Why?
I never said it was a crime.
That? Second of all, this woman is the definition of irony. The fact that you can come on this platform and tell a skin color that if they want to live, they need to do and say everything that these other skin colors tell them to do and say, or else.
That is such an
Alec, stop interrupting the man of color. He's trying to speak. You're not listening to someone who is... You didn't grow up as a black man. He did. So let's give him the floor, shall we? Stop interrupting him and listen to him.
Sometimes you should just shut the fuck up and listen. It's okay sometimes to just shut the fuck up and listen. Charitable interpretation of what she said. What the f? That is such an uncharitable interpretation, man. Come on. You know that's not what she meant. She doesn't want to literally enslave white people. Let's be real.
Without your platform and your well-being.
absolutely. I mean, he's just.
Oh yeah, man, he's right on the money.
Preach it.
The John Raid, very nice guy. Go follow.
Preach.
Being stripped from this earth.
He seems like an asshole. I don't like him.
Mind-boggling.
Is that racism, ladies and gentlemen? Maybe came back from his past. I don't know, man. You accuse me of being racist, but up to this point, this is strike number 2 on your side. Why, instead of saying he's an asshole, you said you don't like him? Why don't you listen to his perspective? Because the only thing I was thinking, it's so funny. I think you're losing the plot here, Alec. You started wanting to argue with me, and you ended up arguing with the person of color in the room. So I think, again, you lost the plot. I don't know what happened here, how this happened, but it's... Oh, this is beautiful. I don't know how I did that, but it worked, I think, because he went so around and round that he ended up being what he thinks I am towards him. This is beautiful. Man, this made my day.
To me, you brought up their privilege, yet you're executing yours right in front of our faces.
What are you talking
That
about?
don't look like oppression to me.
Yes, it's such a privilege to be able to make a TikTok. What? What privilege is she expressing right now?
Looks like somebody holds the social power in this situation.
Yeah, I think the situation is that she gets away with it, so I have to agree with him. It's a different type of social power, historically, when we look at the sort of social power that white people had over black people, which is a historical fact, and I'm not going to try and deny it.
Watch him disagree with this as well, just because now he's in disagree mode. I just said his words. I just organized it in a way that I think was most sensible and appropriate, but let's see.
I always state the...
He wants so badly for her to get in trouble for this. Like, why? How does this affect you?
Once again, he always goes by. You'll notice this is a pattern. It is always, how does this affect you? Which is basically a longer version of, why do you care? That's what it is, because he doesn't know how to, even when I make his own point. And then he's like, oh, damn it. He made my own point. I can't attack that. Well, how does this affect you? Yeah, you'll hear this another 50 times.
Anyway, man, how does this affect? Is there going to be a mob of black people? Are you afraid of like a mob of black people coming to your door and like stealing you away in the middle of the night or something? And then I don't know. Perhaps then they could, break out their torches and put on hoods, and then take you out into the middle of nowhere and crucify you. Right? Is that what you're afraid of? Because that happened to black people.
You know who else experienced what you just described? Early Sicilian immigrants in the United States. Look it up.
Throughout American history, and still does today, all right? Sometimes literally, sometimes metaphorically. But that's not a real concern that white people have historically had. Not based on their whiteness, at least, okay?
Okay, then how do you explain the prejudice and persecution of Sicilians and early immigrants from where I'm from into your country? I'm sure you're familiar with this story. It's the history of your own country. Unless you don't know the history of your own country. That I'm a little confused here.
Okay, so maybe consider that if that's something that you're like actually afraid of. Otherwise, this just does not affect you.
They want to murder you or nothing happens to you. That's how he thinks. It must be quite easy to reason your way through life if this is the way you look at it. There are no shades of gray. There are no multiple things that can happen to a person that is still unjust, but they are not. They want to behead me. It seems like, no, not for him. It's only extremes. See, noble ones, regardless of whether you're a left-winger or a right-winger or a centrist, this is what a moderate looks like. This is what a far-left guy looks like. You can still be a left-leaning. I have nothing against you. But when you have situations where we are literally discussing about not being toxic and not being hatred, and you go round and round to find justifications to accept behavior that we all know deep inside is wrong, and then when those justifications fail in the presence of evidence, you retreat back to, doesn't affect me so I don't care, that's when I'm gonna have a problem. That's why I'm a moderate.
Bet on black. Bet on brown. Bet on indigenous.
Yeah, this is really, it's doing a disservice towards black people.
She's very entertaining.
And indigenous and all of that. Because
what do you mean how? She's being so full of anger and hatred that now people that could have listened to her, if she was being nice about it, if she was being logical about it, if she was being less emotional about it, if she was being less manipulative about it, I think we can all agree that the way you present information will make people less likely to listen to you or more reluctant to listen to your message. She is choosing the worst possible way and path to present information. She's giving orders. People do not accept that. So yes, she's not helping the cause.
Imagine if someone's only experience or contact, that's not my case, I've been around black people my whole life.
Absolutely.
And so I know what they are like, and they're not like this. In my experience, in the majority of cases, it's a fringe. It's a loud minority. Imagine if someone's only experience...
What do you mean, good job, buddy? You absolute... I just defended the majority of black people to make sure. This is why you don't even understand when I'm doing something that you should praise from your left-wing perspective. I just said black people are usually not like this. And I'm telling my white audience that, because of course my black audience already knows that, to make sure that I don't generate racism. Because I want people to know, yes, she was pretty bad, but black people usually are not like that. And you have a problem with that. Either you do not understand your own language, Alec, which is my second language, by the way. I'm arguing with you in your language, not my first language. And yet you seem to have a problem understanding what I'm saying, even when I'm clearly stating something that you should agree with based on what you predicate.
Now listen, I've been around them, right? And I know that you know, they're not all uppity like this one. Is that what you're saying, man?
Yes, and it's a good thing to say, particularly if you have someone who may be, and again, not all white people are like this, but there might be someone who is already inclined, maybe they were mistreated, they're white, they were mistreated, and now they watch my video with this lady, and that's what makes them think, you know what, I can't stand people like her. And that's when I'm gonna help and say, hey, I was around a lot of black people because Sicily is literally this far away from Africa, and therefore I met a lot of people that were lovely. They weren't like this. That's all I'm saying. You have a problem with that.
Like, come on.
Just
say what you mean.
People, but then they go...
Essentially, what you're saying is you tolerate black people as long as they don't make you think about things that are uncomfortable to think about. Okay?
Straw man. In fact, that's you. You just self-described. Because you didn't tolerate the black guy the moment he started saying things that you disagreed with, and you called him an asshole and said you didn't like him. You just self-described. You might need a little introspection. I'm using your own words against you, man. I'm not even needing to create an argument. I'm using your own arguments.
No, I nobody was going to say you're being racist.
I don't know, man. You've been telling me I'm racist for everything. I mean, what's one more? All right, well, this is all for episode 1. I think I've already deconstructed and completely annihilated every single point that he used, every counter-argument, every accusation, and I even had him turn around and attack his own points and destroy himself. So, for this first episode, we're going to stop here, but I am not going to stop here with this because there is still a lot more to show, and I will. Thank you for watching, noble ones. I'll see you tomorrow, and stay noble, unlike him.